Yeah, cashed out. You know, the Las Vegas dream right there. You go big. You know, you own a bunch of real estate. You own a bar. You lose it all. You come back home to the San Gabriel Valley.
Welcome to the SGV Master Key, a show where you will hear personal stories of triumph over failures and how others successfully navigated the unique landscape that is the San Gabriel Valley. What makes us different? Well, just like you, we have chosen the San Gabriel Valley for our home or businesses or both. We believe it is the people and small businesses that make this community great, and we love to share their stories with you. We always encourage your questions and feedback, and you can find all of our contact information at sgvmasterkey.com. Here are the hosts for the show, Russell Mono and Scott Warman.
All right, welcome back to another episode. Thank you again for tuning in and spending this time with us, and we hope that you enjoy this show that we have for you, this guest. Scott, one of the big things that we both share is our love for food, right?
It seems, I'm just thinking it through, no matter where you start the conversation, it always ends up immigrants and food.
Right.
And the connection, is so clear here in the San Gabriel Valley, the different types of immigrant communities and the different types of food. And I'm just a big food person, and I just love food and love talking about it.
Sure. I mean, I myself think the San Gabriel Valley is synonymous with wonderful food variety and quality and amazing restaurants. And, you can experience so many different things here in this one little area, right?
Right. And then you have the restaurant, really becomes very innovative in its own category almost.
Sure.
And I think we've got a very innovative guest today in terms of looking at some of the items on their menu. It's things you haven't heard of, but boy, you want to eat it.
Right. Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So today our guest is Michael Taing. Welcome to the show.
Hello. So happy to be here.
So as we said, we're talking about food, and you own a restaurant, Cha Cafe. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, Cha Cafe. It's we like to call it fusion. It's Asian Mexican fusion. We have a little mix of like poke nachos and carnitas nachos, and our nachos are made with wonton chips instead of those typical flour chips. So I think it's a lot lighter and crispier, like really, really fun and tasting. And
Mexican Asian fusion. That's pretty innovative, right? You must be one of few people or restaurants that are doing something like that.
One of the few, but yeah, we love what we do, and we just, the area is where I grew up in the San Gabriel Valley, and it is a fusion of Asian and Mexican food, and it just came to mind.
So again, what is the name of your restaurant and where is it located?
It is called Cha Cafe,
Mm-hmm.
10308 Lower Azusa Road in El Monte.
And what is your inspiration for this restaurant?
Well, I grew up here in the San Gabriel Valley. And every time I'd come back, then I moved to Vegas for 8 years. But every time I came back to visit my family here, that's all I wanted to eat was, my favorite Asian food and my favorite Latin food. And it just when I moved back, I'm like, this is what I want to do. This is what I love. It's my passion.
And so the community that you're serving with your restaurant, they are of the same community. They're both Latin and Asian.
Correct. Yeah, we're right there on the corner of like El Monte, Temple City, Arcadia. So, yeah, we love our regulars and our people. I hope they love us.
I think when people who live in the San Gabriel Valley hear those cities, they sort of understand the demographics that live there, right? Arcadia, El Monte, Temple City. So, did you choose that location specifically because that's the sort of food that you wanted to serve?
No, the location came just by chance. We just happened to be there, and we just happened to be around when the spot opened up and just needed some help. So I came in, and I was originally just the manager there, and then eventually took it over.
I see.
How long has the restaurant been there?
I've been the owner since 2011, so May 4th, 2011. I always remember that day because it's Star Wars Day.
Oh, yes. Do you understand that reference?
I don't know.
It's
I've never watched. I'm one of the few people in the world who's never seen a Star Wars movie.
Oh no!
Yeah.
So the reference is May the 4th be with you.
Oh, okay. All right. I do know.
It was a chance. It just happened to be May 4th, and I love Star Wars. So.
Okay.
So you mentioned you grew up here in the San Gabriel Valley. What was that like for you?
Yeah, growing up here, it's all I knew. You know, if you're a worm in the world, that's all you know. You know the world. The world is all it is. But if you're a worm in horseradish, it's all you know is horseradish, right? So I was growing up here. It's all I knew, and I didn't realize how much I didn't know until I had the opportunity to leave the San Gabriel Valley. And then once I left, I explored the world, and I came back with a bigger understanding of the San Gabriel Valley.
What city did you grow up in?
I grew up in Monterey Park.
Okay.
As did I. So I went to Inez Elementary School.
Oh, yeah.
When we went to Marquette High School. Yeah. What was it like growing up in Monterey Park?
Monterey Park was very, we grew up in a different time. The world was a lot different than it is now. Russell and I, we went to Keppel together a long time ago, but, there's a lot more friction and a lot more, adversity amongst the people living there. I remember it was a little tougher. There was a gang problem when we were younger in school, and just, growing up without the right, parent support system, because my parents were always working. They had to work to put bread on our tables, and they worked, pretty much 24/7. So, having to grow up pretty much on my own with, my siblings and my friends. So my friends and my siblings, they became my family and my mentors.
Were your parents in the restaurant business?
Oh yeah, I grew up in the restaurant business. We grew up with Chinese fast food restaurants and donut shops growing up as a kid. And if my parents weren't working, we had to come and help. So it's always, someone's always at the business.
And what is your ethnic background?
I'm a Cambodian ethnic Chinese. So
what does that mean, Cambodian ethnic Chinese? Do you identify more with Chinese, with Cambodian?
What it means is my family is from China, but they immigrated to Cambodia. And then, just so they kind of like mingled with the culture of Cambodian and Chinese, kind of like pretty much a fusion, I guess where my food comes from is always just a fusion of things. Growing up, my household spoke 5 different languages.
Oh, wow.
So it was really hard to understand like what's going on, because they spoke Cambodian, Cantonese, Chuchao, Mandarin, and whatever else they felt like speaking in the same sentence. So if you imagine growing up, it was very confusing. But in the old country, I'm sure that was normal. Everyone spoke 5 different languages.
Wow, that really highlights the way your food is.
Right? A little confused, but it ends up good, I guess.
Wow. So your parents were in Cambodia in a time that was, was real conflict and turmoil there. Did they share any of that with you?
Yeah, they grew up during the Khmer Rouge era, during what's called the killing fields, and they don't like to talk about it much, but like growing up as a kid, and all of a sudden my mom would just have nightmares, and nowadays we understand it as PTSD, but I didn't know what it was as a child. She just would wake up and scream, and we would have no idea, and you can't stop her, and she just screamed and cried, and it was as a child I just had no idea what was going on, and it was just because of her trying to escape the Khmer Rouge and escape being murdered by the oppressors. And then middle of the night, one of my uncles would just take his fist and slam the side of the house with his fist. I felt like an earthquake. I didn't know what was going on as a child, and just the PTSD of it all. And he just would slam the fist, and his fists were bleeding, and the house was damaged. It was just a shock.
Yeah, the horror of what was experienced, and it was not just Cambodia, but Cambodia was notable for the killing fields, but throughout Southeast Asia and even, East Asia, just a lot of horror stories that we have heard on this show.
Yeah.
And, families have been affected as yours was for a lifetime, and probably even successive, generations as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
the experience of that, I mean, a lot of the guests have shared escaping, coming to America to better the lives of their family, for their children. It sounds like that's, perhaps the reason for your parents. But they didn't share a lot of that with you, huh?
They kept it private. I guess they didn't want to bring that burden on to the next generation. They wanted us to be successful where they weren't, and they worked hard to make sure that we didn't have to worry about food, and we didn't have to worry about being shot. We didn't have to worry about, you got to remember, in Cambodia, in the killing fields, if you were a doctor, a lawyer, if you were educated, if you wore glasses, they would kill you.
Wow.
Because they only wanted peasants. They only wanted farmers to control them and just to make them work.
Well, and, at the same time, the Cultural Revolution going on in China, of course, the Vietnam experience as well. I mean, I myself have been personally affected by this as well, because of my actual Chinese family history. That I'm not Chinese, but but I
was wondering,
my extended family is.
Oh yeah.
Yes, and them living through the Cultural Revolution was a horrible experience as well.
Wouldn't wish it on anybody.
Yeah.
No.
You mentioned growing up in a time with a lot of gangs and a lot of violence there. I recall a lot of this, but can you share some of that? What was that like?
Just how was it like?
Well, I remember a time, in freshman year, and I described this as walking down the halls, like along the side, looking at the floor because I didn't want to make eye contact. And there was a time when there were like fights every day.
Exactly.
And then there was the riot in 92, I think.
The LA riots, yeah.
Well, at the school, there was a riot that took place in the lunch court, and they couldn't stop it. They had to call the police, and it's in the history books now. But I walked out of into the lunch court, and all the Asians were standing on one side and all the Hispanics on the other, and they were just looking at each other.
Yeah.
For 3 days.
Yeah.
No one was eating for 3 days. That was bizarre.
Yeah.
Right?
You'd walk down Garvey Boulevard, and I got mugged a few times just in Monterey Park, like unspeakable now. But back then, as a child, I was in Garvey, I was in junior high, walking the streets by myself, and you would get mugged because you were Asian, and a Hispanic, gangster would see you as an easy target.
Well, now there's been a lot of recent publicity about Asian hate crimes occurring again. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's been something you've seen or experienced, but
with COVID right now, my world is very small. I'm not out gallivanting around town as a child, so I go to work, I go home. I don't experience too much of that violence towards me because I'm very secure in my vehicle. So I'm not sure how that affects. I'm worried about it. I'm worried about it for my wife and my child. But as for me, I'm going to Restaurant Depot. I'm going to Sam's Club, and then I go to work, and I work inside a secure restaurant. And then and I don't interact with too many people outside of my world because we want to keep ourselves distant and safe. So
yeah, the experience of people in Monterey Park. I remember I have friends who had similar experiences, being jumped many times, and they actually became gang members because of that.
Yeah,
several people that I know, and so you obviously have taken a different route. So what sort of was what prevented you from going down that way? Because you could have probably easily gone down that way, right?
Oh yeah. Luckily, I did have older siblings to support me. Even my parents, I'm sure they love me unconditionally, but they always had to work, and that was the problem. Everyone was refugees, and all these immigrants didn't have their parents to love and support them, and because they had to go and make money. Totally understandable, but back then, that's what happened. That there was no guidance from the older generation to the young how to be successful. I think the children of the San Gabriel Valley are so lucky now that we've gone through it already. Now that we're grown up, we have our own children, and we could teach them what's right and wrong, and how to be successful and how to be good to other people. And I'm so thankful for the time we have now.
That's an interesting perspective. That's the first time that's been brought up. you and I are of the generation where most of the parents are immigrants, and then now we are parents now, and our children have a very different reality in the San Gabriel Valley, right? Having gone through all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. You're growing up as, because we were we were considered first generation immigrants.
I think so.
I think so, right? But we didn't know, we didn't know limits and boundaries. We didn't know how to, that the police are your friends. We didn't know that we can be politicians. We didn't know that. We would turn on the TV and we don't see our faces on the television. We don't feel like we have any power or control of our destiny because we were, we weren't represented. But nowadays we have more representation. It's not like it used to be, but it's a lot more than it was, and I'm very happy about that.
Sure. So you went to Marquette High School, and you mentioned going to Vegas for 8 years, but what happened after high school?
After high school, I did the family business. So I was running, helping my parents take care of the donut shop and Chinese fast food restaurants, and I loved it. I grew up with it, but I knew it wasn't. I thought it wasn't for me. I told myself I'm never going to open my own business, and if I ever open my own business, it would never be 24 hours because I want to spend time with my family and kids.
Oh, your family's restaurant was 24 hours?
The donut shop was 24 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's always open. There's an emergency. During the LA riots, we had to shut down, and we didn't know how to shut down because we didn't have keys.
Oh, wow. Where was that located?
Huntington Park.
And is that still in operation?
Yeah, absolutely. Over 30 years now, our business has been there.
Whoa. And still 24 hours?
Not with COVID. We had to cut the hours. But before COVID, it was 24 hours.
The donut and Chinese restaurant is together?
Oh, no, not anymore. No,
okay.
That's just a donut shop now.
Okay.
But we've had other locations where there's a donut shop and a Chinese fast food next to each other.
So what was your role in helping out the family business?
I would be a salesperson or on the cash register and helping the cooks or buying supplies and taking care of the guests was my main priority.
So you're like, I'm not doing this. This is not for me.
I'm never going to be a business owner. I'm never going to open my own business because it took so much time and effort. And so I wanted to be an employee, and I was that in Vegas. I had my opportunity to be an employee. But, the business, the entrepreneurship called for me.
What did you do in Vegas?
I was actually recruited by Caesar's Palace to be a flair bartender. I used to flip bottles and juggle and do shows on the Vegas Strip.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a fun time in my life, my early 20s.
Wait, you mean right in front of Caesar's, or where would you be doing this?
Oh, there was a new bar they built inside called Shadow Bar at Caesar's Palace, and they recruited bartenders, the top bartenders from around the country and the world, technically.
Wait, so how did you get noticed? How did you get into this industry?
Well, when I was younger, I didn't know what to do, and I didn't have the opportunity to do college. So I figured, bartending. I heard bartenders make good money, and I would, if I was smart, I would be able to save some of that money and build my own bar or restaurant or whatever, kind of like the movie Cocktail. So I guess the movie Cocktail influenced me into the bottle flipping and restaurateur-ness.
Have you seen Cocktail?
I haven't.
Is that with Tom Cruise?
Yeah, Tom Cruise, and he was a flair bartender, and he always kept a book on how to be a millionaire close to him, and kind of hit me. And
what is a flair bartender?
we still flip bottles, juggle with the bottles and do shows with the bottles and tricks and flip things around and throw ice and just have a big party. Every day at work was a big party.
Wow, that seems kind of interesting. So how long did you practice that, or how did you acquire that skill?
Just by sheer willpower. Back then there was no YouTube, right? So this is you'd have to find a VHS videotape of it somehow, somewhere from a friend, and look up bartending schools. We didn't have Google back then, right? So you'd have to use AOL and find groups, and then then just find movies like the movie Cocktail and just practice their moves. And then eventually I decided to go to bartending school, and I met some friends that kind of had the same interests as me, and we became friends, and we used to practice at the park.
Wow.
And we used to practice together, and we'd hear about competitions, and we'd hear about other bars that did the flair. We'd go visit and make friends. It was a great little tribe of people that we met and had a core little group. It was pretty fun.
That seems very different from, helping out at the restaurant.
Yeah, I was at the restaurant and I would I would flip bottles at the restaurant and they would break things. And, one time I think I broke a bottle of Tarani syrup and that's full of sugar. And the next day ants were everywhere.
Oh no.
And you can imagine this is in a restaurant. So I'm like, oh my God, I got to clean up all this sugar.
So that's quite the skill. So you acquired this skill and what were your hopes? What were you shooting for at that time when you were in Vegas?
I was in my early 20s and I just wanted to make a lot of money so I could buy real estate and investments and, become, rich one day and show my parents, you don't have to work 24 hours a day to make it in this country. You could only work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and you can make a good amount of money. And I just wanted to prove that could happen. And luckily I was in Las Vegas and we were union. So we were union flair bartenders, which is unheard of, right? So we were making decent money. And then when I was out there, I decided to get my real estate license because I love real estate. So I was a real estate agent, flair bartender by night, and real estate in the daytime.
I'm curious, what did your parents think of you being a flair bartender?
They probably thought I was nuts. I didn't pursue being your typical stuff like a doctor or a lawyer. I decided to be a Cambodian flair bartender in Las Vegas, which is what you never see.
Were they supportive of that?
I didn't give them a choice. I kind of was young and wanted to do stuff on my own. And I only gave them a week's notice and just let them know, by the way, I'm moving to Las Vegas next week.
So that's not the stereotypical, fall in line Asian immigrant son or daughter way of being. What fostered that in you, that independence to have the courage to step out and do something like that?
It was not the courage. I was just more afraid that I would grow up in my parents' shoes and just work in a donut shop every single day for the rest of my life. And I just didn't think that was the path I wanted in my, my early 20s growing up around here. I thought there was going to be more in the world, and I went out and looked for it.
So you spent 8 years in Las Vegas and you were doing real estate, and what was that like?
Well, I was there before the 2006 crisis, so it was amazing. I was one of the top realtors in my office because I would buy a lot of houses myself, apparently. So, it was a different time. So, and growing up as a child, I'd never seen a bad economy, right? So I'm just this 22-year-old kid who just happened to be in Las Vegas as a flair bartender, who happened to make decent enough money and then got into real estate, and the houses were just shooting up like skyrockets. And all my friends were bartenders, so they all had money and everyone started buying houses. So, during the time, houses in Las Vegas were about $100,000, $150,000 for a nice one. So you could just go buy a house. And we bought houses and we sold them and we made a lot of money. But, if you kept them, then you had problems in 2006.
So what happened then?
Well, I was a flair bartender, and actually I quit and opened my own bar at the time. So I owned a bar with me and my business partner, and we had that for 3 years. And so I owned a portfolio of probably 6 properties at that time. But during that recession, that 2006 housing crash, I lost everything. Yeah. So my quest to prove my parents wrong kind of backfired because, I went a little too crazy because I'd never seen a bad economy. I didn't know how to manage my risk because there was no one who taught me that, risk happens in real estate. I thought it just kept going up.
Yeah. You didn't know that there were cycles.
I didn't realize that the cycles come that hard.
Well, that one hit pretty hard.
That one hit.
There are always cycles.
There are.
I guess that's the risk when you grow up never having seen a bad cycle and you think, wow, it's always this good.
Yeah.
You just, no matter what you do, you're going to make money.
Yeah.
And then you lost everything.
I lost everything. Yeah, all my property, my bar. I lost it all.
What year was that then?
That was 2008, 2009, around there.
What was the name of your bar?
It was the Red Room Saloon. There's still stories about it. It was a wild bar.
and where was that located?
It was off the strip on Sahara. It was a local bar.
On Sahara.
Yeah.
East or west of the It would be east of the freeway, huh?
Yeah, it would be
On the strip side.
no, the other side. So it would be west of the 15. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you lost everything.
Lost
2008.
everything. Yeah, cashed out. You know, the Las Vegas dream right there. You go big. You know, you own a bunch of real estate. You own a bar. You lose it all. You come back home to the San Gabriel Valley.
And so did you come back to your parents' home?
Absolutely. I lost it all. So I had nothing. I only had like $9,000 to my name. You know, after you know, trying to become a millionaire and losing it all and having $9,000 in your pocket, you know, that's a punch
It's
in the
like
gut.
you had a pile of chips on the craps table and
Absolutely.
or the roulette table,
Absolutely,
and
you know.
and red came up instead of black.
Go big or go home. I went big and I went home.
Well, so what was going through your mind when you came home and you're now living back with your parents?
Depression at the time and sadness and, you know, feeling sorry for myself. But, you know, I can only let that happen for so long. I had to get myself back up and get myself back on my feet. And my family, luckily, were still around to help me and support me.
So you were working in the restaurant again when you came back, or?
I was helping my family out and the restaurant a little bit and just figure out what I was trying to do with my life. And, you know, jobs and the economy were a little bit off at the time. So
Yeah, that's really makes you think, huh? That you were on your own, you had a lot of money, and now you're living at home again
yeah,
with
Living
mom and dad.
not even a car, nothing.
Yeah,
Oh.
Yeah.
it's like you just fallen.
Yep.
So you mentioned depression. I mean, that's not just easy. That's not an easy thing to just, you know, sort of pull yourself out of. How did you overcome that?
Just the love and support of family and friends, you know, just and time. Yeah, time heals all wounds. So eventually you build yourself back up, or I did, and you know, I know a lot of others who did the same thing. You got to keep going. You know, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, and you know, there's always an opportunity. Knowing now what I didn't know back then, but there's always another opportunity. Any economic downfall is actually an opportunity if you look at it the right way. But at the time I didn't know, but now I do. Like, you know, if I learned a lesson from all this is, you know, the bad times is when people, they make it big.
So when did you start to see that light? What was it? What was that moment?
Well, I had the opportunity to work at the Cafe restaurant, and you know, and then the owners didn't, you know, that wasn't what they really wanted to do. So I ended up taking over that spot, and you know, I got a piece of the San Gabriel Valley to my own. Then after that,
Was it a more traditional restaurant at that time?
oh no, it was the absolute opposite of a traditional.
It's always been this innovative kind of place.
Well, the owner tried to make it into like a Orange County style Vietnamese coffee shop originally, and it didn't go out so well in Monterey, in El Monte. So I took it over and I tried to make it more of a family-centered restaurant.
So he's sort of skirting around what that means, but what is a Orange County style Vietnamese restaurant?
Well, they would serve like Vietnamese strong coffee, and they would have girls dressed in like outfits, just, you know, nothing like too provocative, just, you know, nicer, pretty outfits to attract the male clientele.
So was it a nighttime operation, or?
Yeah, all day and night. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, we got raided by the police a few times, but there was nothing to see. Nothing was illegal or wrong. It just didn't make sense in that area, the business it was.
So you took it over,
Yes, I took it over.
and what happens next?
I took it over, and being from Vegas, I decided to make it, you know, something crazy and amazing that, you know, I would love to eat in Las Vegas. And my favorite thing at the time was tapas. And I brought in my chef friends from Hawaii, and you know, he was like a tapas expert, or, you know, Hawaiian expert, and he knew how to make tapas. And one of my good friends was he was the manager of one of the big tapa restaurants in Vegas. So I got all these recipes and all these ideas, and I figured everyone's gonna love tapas. But apparently the market didn't know what tapas were at the time, being a Spanish word, but not from southern South America term. It's more of like Spanish from from Europe. So I thought it was just Spanish, but apparently, and we didn't have alcohol. We never sold alcohol, so we couldn't really do the wine and all that stuff. Anyway, so the tapas restaurant didn't really work out. So, it's like, every downfall of that restaurant just made us want to make it better and stronger, because I had no options. I had nothing, so I had nothing to lose.
So you just had to keep coming up with new ideas?
Keep coming up with new ideas and techniques and found something that worked and that people loved. Was there something that was sort of that made it for you? Was there one food that, just all of a sudden overnight you were getting a lot of people wanting it? Oh, well, the funny thing is at the time of the restaurant, we had a bunch of different dishes, but like everything was kind of separate because it was tapas. And I was making a dinner for a bunch of friends of mine. And then one of my friends, James Wang, he's this big guy. He's ex-Marines. And he's like, hey, Mike, as a joke, put that there, that and that together and make one big bowl. And then I did it as a joke for him. I made this giant bowl for him, and he loved it, and he ate it, and he's like, "Oh, man, make this again." And his name is James Wang, and ever since then, that's what the Wang box is at Cha Cafe. Everyone wonders what the Wang box is. Oh, yeah. It's actually named after my friend who kind of invented it. So it's a combination of things that wouldn't normally go together, or what? Oh, it was just a combination of my different tapas dishes at the time. Oh. So I had like a beef skewer with Calbee short ribs, and I had these beautiful mushrooms and this special egg dish I made, and we put it all together, and Asian stir fried with woks and on top of rice, and it just became our top item. That's the first thing that I had there. Oh yeah, and it was good. The Wang box, yes. Wang box, yeah. And it's just like it wasn't planned, but it was just a happy mistake, and that's what the restaurant kind of is, just a bunch of things that worked, and it just worked, and we went with it, and people loved it, and for some reason we're still in business. So I'm just so thankful for the community for their support. What are some of the different other dishes that you have? I seem to remember a ramen hamburger. So back in the day, that the ramen burger craze happened, and I made the ramen burger as a temporary item. I didn't think it was going to last, right? Like this thing of ramen as the bun and and the burger inside. Like I thought it was just going to be a fad, and I think for the rest of the world it was a fad, but that's like our third most popular item still. Like I've been wanting to take it off the menu, but people love it. I'm like, okay, I'll never take it off the menu since people keep ordering it. So is the ramen deep fried or? Oh, it's it's a great question. People get confused. They think like crispy ramen from the ramen package, but we get the real Japanese ramen. We boil it, and then we have to form it in a metal baking pan. We have to set it overnight, and then we bake it in the oven to keep its shape. So yeah, it's a lot of labor, but it's it's a labor of love to make that ramen bun, to give it that shape and that right texture and the right taste. When I look at it, it just looks wrong. But it may look wrong, but it sounds good. I mean, I wish I was eating one right now. What would be some of the items that would go, or I guess you would say like ketchup or mustard, or what would the condiments go? Condiments, yeah. Oh, it's your typical Thousand Island and teriyaki sauce. Oh yeah. So. I mean, it's a curiosity, right? So I look at that, I'm like, what does that taste like? What does it feel like to bite into that? It's so, it's actually pretty good. It sounds a little filling, but it's pretty good. Wow. So I'm impressed, and I'm very, very impressed with your ability to pick yourself back up over and over again in these stories that you shared. I'm interested to get into more of what happened with Cha Cafe and where you are now, but let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
The legal process can be intimidating. You don't know where to start, and you're unsure of what to expect. The attorneys and staff at the law offices of Scott Wormuth have been serving the San Gabriel Valley for over 35 years, helping people just like you navigate through the legal process and ensuring you're treated fairly. You can find them at law888.com or call 626-282-6868. That's 626-282-6868.
Okay, we're back with our guest, Michael. Before the break, we were talking about the ramen burger and the Wang box. I'm so excited for this show because, food is something that we love, and I'm excited to speak with someone who owns a restaurant.
I could talk about food all day.
So Scott was asking, what's your second most popular item?
Definitely our cheesesteak fries.
What is that?
So short ribs. So that's our cheesesteak is made of short ribs. And we cook it on a wok because, we're Asian. And we stir fry it on the wok. We get all the wok cheese and flavor. And we put it on some shoestring fries with some mozzarella cheese. And what's our famous cha sauce, which is a sriracha aioli.
So is the short rib also marinated in like a Calbee style flavor, or is it?
Yeah, it's a Calbee style Korean flavor, but influenced by my wife and I.
That sounds good too, right?
Oh, it all sounds good. Yeah. How often do you come up with a new item?
We try not to change the menu too often now. Like compared to when we first started, we changed the menu all the time. We're on menu version like 15 now. But yeah, we for COVID we had to sadly we had to adjust a few things for COVID just to make it easier for people to eat in their cars. So we created a new item called the chalote corn ribs. So it's corn ribs like an elote, but with cha sauce. So it's chalote, and you eat the corn like a rib, but it's a elote corn. It's like a finger food. It's like a little appetizer. It's delicious. It's amazing. Whatever time if you guys ever watched that commercial back in the day with the Michelin Man. And he like takes every tire from the rack and he like loves it. And he's sad that he has to let that tire go. I don't know if you ever seen that commercial, but that's like me. Cause I'm in the kitchen every day and I'm cooking the food every day. I feel like I'm that Michelin Man because every dish I make, it's like, I love it. It's beautiful. Oh, I have to let it go to a guest. I hope that customer loves it and cherishes it.
When was the last time you ate a ramen burger?
Like a couple weeks ago,
How many items on your menu?
I'd say at least 50, about 50 items on the menu for our restaurants. Kind of big, but things are just variations of other things. Like, we have something called a sambap, and a sambap is a Korean word. So sam means like to wrap and bap means rice. So it's a lettuce wrap with the rice in it. And we have like different versions of it. So there's like a chicken, a beef, a shrimp, carnitas, tofu, or avocado. So like one thing like a sambap has like eight variations or so. So it just depends on what the item is.
So what percentage of your guests or customers would you say are Asian and what are Latino or non-Asian?
I've never actually judged that, honestly. But I'd say it's a good mix, at least 50-50. We get everybody. We get all nationalities. No, everyone is welcome. Everyone loves it. So it's just a food for everybody. So at least a good mix of variety of Asian, Latin, African American, and Caucasian.
Are you primarily an eat-in restaurant or takeout?
Yeah. So
you were primarily eat-in.
So yeah. Prior to COVID, yeah, definitely like 50-50, at least 50, like probably 60% was dine-in and then 40% was takeout.
How has COVID impacted your business?
Oh, it was at the beginning, it was so scary. Every business that I knew of, all my friends, like we were shutting down. We didn't know what to do. Business was suffering. Nobody could go out, but like previous, like every bad thing is an opportunity if you learn how to pivot. I think all the mistakes that I've did in my past, I learned to pivot, and the faster you could pivot in business, especially in restaurants, like the faster you could be successful. And before COVID, we dabbled in like Uber Eats and those delivery apps. So after COVID, we had to double down on Uber Eats and Grubhub. And then we developed our own app. So you could just order on our app and then we'll bring it out to your car curbside. So So those are great opportunities for us as you know, some of those bigger restaurants, they can't pivot as quickly as a small restaurant like us. So luckily we're just a 50 seat small restaurant, and we were lucky enough.
Well, we're looking now to go back to some in restaurant dining. And are you going to open up as soon as you can, or what's your schedule?
Well, we'll have to take the guidance from the county, the LA County Health Department dictates if we can open inside or not. But I would love to get fully opened again. I definitely want to make it safe for my employees and my customers first. So as soon as we hear it's safe and it's okay, we'll probably take it step by step. We're not going to jump in right away and get the place packed. No, that's the last thing I want, is to pack the place full of indoor diners and then, you know, have another outbreak and we have to shut down again. I'd rather take it slow and step by step.
Are you looking at takeout being a permanent change that would increase your business?
Absolutely. I think for us and our location and our size, our footprint of the restaurant, you know, we definitely would. I think takeout is going to stay. The takeout and the delivery apps are going to stay and be a big part of the business moving forward.
Wow. You definitely shared a lot of stories that people can glean how you've become the person that you are and how you are tackling these things. We also ask our guests to bring an item of significance with them. And can you share with the audience what you brought with you today?
Oh, absolutely. Something that you know, growing up, I wish someone forced this book down my throat. But it's a book that I think everybody should read, called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And you know, every business person that I've ever met has read this book, and you know, anybody who's successful should have some knowledge of this book. And you know, to be successful, just you know, if you don't have the right, you know, support as growing up as an immigrant in America here in the San Gabriel Valley, you should read this book. You know, at least it gives you some clarity on your boundaries and what you can do with your life, and how to act. And it's about how you act, and that's what you attract. I believe that's
certain methods of success and discipline of success. Did you take that away from this book?
Absolutely. Just how to interact with others and how to treat yourself and do it all over again, like sharpening the saw. That's just all part of the book. And funny story, I brought this along too, just in case. But growing up as a child, or when I learned how to be more successful, I brought this. It's a diagram of success, and everyone thinks success is a straight line. Like, oh my God, that person became successful overnight. He's so lucky. But if you look at what they've done in their life, it's not just a straight line that goes up. It's a bunch of squiggles and lefts and rights and wrong ways. But as long as you keep moving forward and you keep trying and you learn to pivot and you learn to move forward, you know, you can be successful. Anybody can, as long as they keep trying. Yeah,
that's a rather dramatic way of illustrating it, but it is so true, isn't it?
It's story of my life, apparently.
So how do you spend your time now? Do you go into the restaurant every day, and are you cooking and doing other things as well, or how do you work?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm a family man first. I have a kindergartner, and you know, I want to spend as much time with her as I can. You know, especially when she's not in school physically, so I have to, like, you know, make sure she's on the iPod correctly and in class and learning. And you know, I'm a husband. I have to take care of my wife, and she works too. So, you know, it's not like she does the housework herself, so I have to help. And you know, I think it's a win-win. You know, everybody has to help each other, right?
Yeah.
And I go to the restaurant every day. If you've eaten there, I've probably somehow
been part of the food
process. You know, prepping, cooking, making the sauces, and cooking myself and cleaning. So yeah, I'm there every day. You know, as a child, I never wanted to be like my parents, working every day in a restaurant, but being a parent myself now, I understand, you know, it's just how life is, you know. You wanted to show your parents that they didn't have to work
24 hours a day or whatever. But
become them.
What are you showing them now?
I become them, and and growing up, my dad always loved real estate. He would show me houses. He was like, "Oh, look at this house and look at that house. Oh, I want to buy this house." But he bought his one house. And, as a kid, we moved every couple years. We moved houses and we changed schools. And I thought that's how it was until he bought his home. And they've been at that home ever since. And it's been like 20, 30 years. I don't know. They've been there forever.
Yeah.
But, because of my parents and my dad, for his love of real estate, I became a realtor too. So not only do I, take care of my family, I go to work at the restaurant every day, but I also do real estate on the side as well. I still have clients, and I still show houses, and I show leases and businesses and everything too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you're definitely involved in a lot of stuff, and there's so much there. I think your food style reflects you and your journey, right? Like you're pretty daring and courageous to go out there and see what happens, and not afraid to fail, and knowing that you're going to be able to, rebound and rebound even stronger. And in fact, in your words, like to look at these failures as opportunities to pivot and grow stronger. Those are real powerful stories to share. We like to get into some more interest in our guests, what they like. So let's do that.
We have a portion of our show, we call it SGV 3, and that's this time, right now. So we want to talk about 3 places that really are meaningful to you. I'll bet you there are guests that would list your restaurant as one of their SGV 3.
Sure.
But what are your 3 favorite places or things in San Gabriel Valley?
Well, definitely, I would have to say Cha Cafe in El Monte would be one of my favorite 3.
Oh, that's it. You fail. You can't name your own.
I can't name my own.
I'm just joking.
But since I'm there every day, that is one of my favorite places, apparently.
Yeah. Well, it's good that you have that positive feeling about it. Yeah.
And then I think the other 2 places in the San Gabriel Valley that, I don't know about my favorite, but they're inspirational to me. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's like, wow, like somebody from the San Gabriel Valley can create this. And the one of them is the Sriracha Factory. Can you imagine this? A man, just a regular dude, immigrant with nothing, and he created this amazing hot sauce, and he created this giant company. It's still in the San Gabriel Valley, originally from Rosemead. I used to drive by it all the time.
It was on Rosemead?
It was in the city of Rosemead.
Oh, yeah?
Out of his garage, Hoi Fong Foods, right now in Irwindale.
Amazing story, right? And this guy he came from nothing. He built an empire, and he's world renowned now. Like this hot sauce, you talk about sriracha, everyone knows sriracha hot sauce.
I mean, it's been big for years, but it's even bigger now than it ever has been.
It's bigger and bigger, and that's like the source of our sauce at Cha is we use real sriracha to make our house sauce. So you only use the original. You can't fake it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, if you use that name, it has to be the real thing.
Absolutely.
So for the listener who may not know that, I mean, I think almost everybody in San Gabriel Valley knows, but it's like either known as like Red Rooster sauce, or like it has the green top. It's in so many Asian restaurants. It's
iconic now.
Yeah,
yeah.
Growing up, it was just the hot sauce on the table at the Chinese restaurant my parents took me to. Like, it's just the sauce, but now it's become like a cultural phenomenon. So you gotta applaud those guys. And they've eaten at my restaurant. I've met them. They're really nice people, really kind.
And they are immigrants also, right?
Yes, yeah. It's just from Hoi Fong. The name of his company is the boat that he came here to America on.
Oh, yeah. From where?
From Vietnam.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can take tours in the facility in
Before
Irwindale.
COVID, yeah. Now you can't, but
it's in Irwindale.
Yeah.
Irwindale now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of residents there that feel very strongly about the odor coming off that.
I have heard about that, right.
Yeah, and it's powerful.
Is
wow.
I thought it was all politics. I'm not sure how that works.
I mean, I could smell it driving by, but
but it's huge, 1 million square feet or something. It's huge, and it was just.
Where is it exactly? Is it right off the freeway? One of the freeways?
So if you go to my restaurant on Lower Azusa, you just go down Lower Azusa where it ends, and you make a left, and you're at the Sriracha Factory.
Oh.
Yeah. If you go down Lower Azusa, you head east, and then then it's just there. It's amazing.
Wow.
So inspirational to anybody from the San Gabriel Valley. I think giant company that just from the passion of one man. It's like from nothing. He came. It's amazing to me. It blows my mind.
Yeah.
And the other place I would, San Gabriel 3 would be if you don't realize this, but Panda Express was found around here in the San Gabriel Valley too. Their corporate headquarters are here in, I think, Rosemead. And, it's right next to the Walmart.
Yes, yeah.
It's a world, it's a huge company from the San Gabriel Valley. And those things are inspirational. Those things make me wake up in the morning. Like, oh my God, like these people, immigrant families from nothing, and they built these empires of corporations. And it's amazing to me. Like somebody could do that here in the San Gabriel Valley.
Is that something you strive for?
Oh, every day. Every day I want to improve the lives of my family and, have intergenerational wealth. I'm not there yet, but, that's the drive in the morning. You got to have that drive to wake up and smell the coffee. You got to have something to live for. And that's what I live for, is to, give my family more and something that I didn't have.
Wow. Yeah, I can see the passion when you're talking about your food and the
right. Yeah, it's genuine. There. I mean, you can tell. Yeah,
yeah. But I'm still blown away at the stories that you have. The show. One of the themes is how people come back from adversity and being down, and I've shared my story on that, and it's amazing to see how people can grow and become stronger, from these events. So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing those things. What's next for Cha Cafe, and how can they find you? Where again is it located?
Cha Cafe on the corner of Lower Azusa Road and Arden in Monte, 10308 Lower Azusa Road. Chacafe.com. You can email me at mikechacafe@gmail.com. If you have any questions or comments, or need some support, or if you want to be a restaurateur one day, or if you just had a basic question, just email me. I might not get to you right away, but I'll do my best to help out. You gotta give back. That's how I see it.
How big is your restaurant? How big is your staff?
We're a small group of dedicated people. I think I employ like 6 people.
A lot of family members, or outside?
No, outside help.
Mm-hmm.
I don't count myself and my wife as employees, so we help and we do our job. But our staff, and we try to keep it small right now with COVID, and everyone works really hard and does the best that they can. Sometimes we get crazy busy, but everyone's trying their best.
Awesome. Well, again, Michael, thank you for sharing the story, and thanks for coming on this show. For the listener, I definitely would recommend going to check out Cha Cafe. If you have not been, go check it out. Have the wang box, and if there's anything I'm going to eat, it's probably going to be what did you call it? The fries?
The cheesesteak fries?
Yeah. So I would definitely go check that out. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. And again, you can always find more information on the show at sgvmasterkey.com.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for checking out another episode of the SGV Master Key. You can find the full back catalog of the SGV Master Key at sgvmasterkey.com and wherever you get your podcasts. This show was produced and edited by Russell Mono and Victoria Allers of Kind Monster Productions. Thanks again for listening or watching. We'll see you again real soon in the next episode.
Nice mother. No, kind mother.